Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, salam, sat shri akal, to all the viewers and listeners, whichever part of the world you are joining me from. Currently, we have a Twitter space on. Plus, we are also live streaming on Twitter as well as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and my TikTok account. So hopefully, people can join any one of these. Most of these places, my account starts with FTW Harjeet, which stands for Fighting Truth with Harjeet. So you should be able to find my account. Um, so today, I have a very very interesting topic, because this has been one of, I would say, the most underappreciated developments in the geopolitical space. A revolution has taken place in South Asia, which I believe has way larger implications for the globe, not just for South Asia, but also the geostrategic environment globally and the shape of things that are going to come in the New World Order. So it is quite surprising that not many people are talking about it. There's a lot of talk in Bangladesh and South Asia, but outside that, I feel there is a lack of media appreciation on how tectonic these shifts are. So today we are very lucky that I have been able to make some connections with some scholars, some social media influencers, some students, some ex-Bangladeshi officials through the medium of Twitter, and some of them are here today, and they very graciously, agreed to come to my Twitter space and talk about the Bangladeshi Revolution. So, without further ado, I actually luckily got two of them, and which is awesome. And both of them I've been talking to a lot. But we will, without revealing their identities, I will let them kind of, give a brief introduction. If they are Bangladeshi, and whatever they can share, and then we can start from there. So I know we have with us Ismail here. Ismail, salam, sat shri akal. Thank you for joining.
Yes, pleasure is all mine. Thank you for hosting the space.
Yeah, and we also have Azfar Shah, a history. His profile says history researcher, polyglot. So Azfar, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, Harjit Bhai, and glad to be here to talk about a very critical issue, not just for Bangladesh but all of South Asia. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll quickly give people a short primer of Bangladesh and the situation in South Asia. So Bangladesh viewers, is a country which was part of the British Indian Empire prior to 1947. In 1947, as part of the worldwide decolonization post World War II, the British left the subcontinent and behind them left political boundaries with some small states, some large empire type states. So, two large empire type states they left was India and Pakistan. And Bangladesh initially was what we used to call East Pakistan. And in 1971, Bangladesh actually gained independence from West Pakistan or the larger Pakistani Federation and became an independent country state in itself. The Bangladesh, if you look at the map of South Asia, it is located right on the top of Bay of Bengal, which is north of the Indian Ocean. So if you look at the map of India, it's on the eastern side of India. On the top of Bay of Bengal, you'll find Bangladesh, a very important country geopolitically speaking. People there speak Bangla as their language. Majority of them are Muslims. I think 90% of the population is Muslim, but we also have Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and other denominations as well. So a very cosmopolitan society. So after 1947, once the Bangladesh won the independence from what they call West Pakistan, Bangladesh typically came under the influence of the Indian state and the Indian government because the Indian government was the largest, state in South Asia. But recently, we heard that there was a revolution which happened in Bangladesh, and it was a student-led revolution. And but I don't want to kind of categorize it what this revolution was because we have Bangladeshis here themselves. So we are going to ask them. Maybe we'll start with Asfar or Ismail. Anybody, give us an idea. What was this revolution? Against whom it was? Why do we call it a revolution, and what caused it? And take your time. We have plenty of time. Set the background. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so to answer your question, thanks for the question, first and foremost. And one thing that you have stated with regards to Bangladesh, giving the viewers over here who are listening in and are watching about what happened in Bangladesh and a bit brief history of Bangladesh. Well, what happened in 1971 and India, basically, this is agreed by most Bangladeshis as of now, that they came in as saviors in 1971, but their goal was always to break up the largest Muslim population in terms of states. I believe that was Pakistan, East Pakistan, West Pakistan back then. So they tried to create problems between both sides and then break it off. They appeared as saviors, but their job was to basically create problems. And Indira Gandhi clearly stated that we have taken the revenge of 1,000 years. So that just goes to show their mentality and what they wanted for us over here. So now, getting to your question, what you have stated with regards to what caused the revolution in Bangladesh. Well, if I'm putting it in a short way, in a brief way, I would say it was a fight against Indian-backed hegemony and fight against Indian hegemony that was established in Bangladesh through its puppet, the Awami League, which is a terrorist organization, and Sheikh Hasina as the leader of that organization. So now what caused this? There's many, many reasons I can put in that caused this issue. Well, one of the primary reasons, the biggest reason, is, as I stated, the Indian hegemony that was established. Now, how was this established? This was established via the Pilkhana massacre. Now, I believe there are some Bangladeshis as well over here. So if you are aware of the Pilkhana massacre, and if any other person is aware, please do give a thumbs up so that people are on the same page, so I understand we're on the same page. So the Pilkhana massacre was basically a direct attack on Bangladeshi sovereignty. Sheikh Hasina, she took up power in late 2008. And right after, just within a few months, what happened is that in February 25, 2009, excuse me, what happened was India launched a covert operation, and this was directly helped and aided by these Indian puppets, the Awami League. And let me give you a brief history of the Awami League.
And what was the massacre called? You said, can you spell it again?
It's called the Pilkhana massacre. I'll just put a link.
We can call it the BDR massacre. Bangladesh Rifle.
Yes, it can be added as that, but the Pilkhana massacre, it's something that happened. It's a place in Dhaka city where our bordering forces, their headquarters were. So it was called Pilkhana. So I'll just type it in, Harjeet. Hope you got what I said.
Got it. Pilkhana. Yeah, I got it. Pilkhana, close to Dhaka. Yep. Thanks.
I'll just type it in the chat box after I'm done answering your question. So the Pilkhana massacre was a direct Indian-backed covert operation that was perpetrated via the Awami League, and it's there are a few implants in the media, a few implants in the bureaucracy, and of course the Awami League itself. There were some ministers who were in touch with Indian officials, such as it is rumored that Indian ambassadors and certain Indian officials met in places in Dhaka city, which are close to the diplomatic areas, such as Gulshan and Baridhara and Bonani. It is rumored, and it's been found in the investigations that took place. So that was a direct attack on Bangladesh sovereignty. Now, you may say that what sort of attack was it? So this was a covert operation that was launched by India, and they sent some of their special forces. There was a BSF involved, and they eliminated 57 Bangladeshi army officers who served in the military. Now, from what I know,
57. Wow.
Yes, 57.
57. Yeah. I have this paper open while you're talking. I was able to look up a paper by Muhammad Tafiqur Rahman at Sakraya University. I don't know whether it seems it's published in a very respectable journal. And you are right, he talks about 57 senior officers of the Bangladeshi Rifle. Wow. Alongside many civilians as well, it seems.
Yes, you've got that right, Harjeet. There were 57 officers, and I believe that this was the biggest loss any army has incurred post-World War II, biggest consecutive loss in any form of war environment, or even outside of war environments, from what I know of, till 2009. So that is what happened. And yes, to what you have stated with regards to not only there were military officers, but there were civilians as well. And in fact, one of the prime witnesses, who was the Imam of the mosque, to the viewers who are listening, the Imam of the mosque is the one who's leading the prayers for the mosque. He's the one who's called the Imam. So he viewed that massacre, and there's some Indian officials, and unfortunately there are some implants within our establishment itself, in the military, in the defense sector, that tried to coerce him along with these Indian agents. So he did not comply. He was later found killed as well. So that was a direct attack on Bangladeshi sovereignty. And of course, border killings. Bangladesh and India, to my knowledge, has the most fatal border, where the Indian side, they are constantly trying to aggress and trying to kill Bangladeshis. And this has been going on. So that is another reason for this highly pent-up energy, I would say, against this Indian hegemony. Their aggressive attitude towards us. So that's, I believe, these are two of the biggest reasons, I would say, that contributed to the revolution. And also, there was a curtailing of rights. We were not given our fair water share. In fact, Abrar Fahad was a very bright engineering student, very, very bright student of Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. He spoke up against these Indian water aggression, them not giving us our fair water share, India not even giving water share to places within India, such as Punjab and other places. So yeah, he was killed by this terrorist organization known as the Awami League. And this was directly, again, backed by India, and there were Indian agents involved in killing him. So that was also a wake-up call. There was also other things that led to a very, very negative view of India. And this is due to the Indian workings. They directly interfered in the elections of late 2013. They sent one of their higher officials from the Indian Foreign Ministry, Sujata Singh, and to convince Sheikh Hasina and to put things in order so that India can actually re-elect its puppet. They just lobbied very hard in Bangladesh. Also, as I stated, part of some traders in the establishment and the civil society and the media, they were hook, line, and sinker with this idea, and that as a result, he basically got so there was this so-called election, dummy election, around 12 years back, actually. So they legitimized it. And also there was 2013 killings of orphanage, people from the orphan trust in Bangladesh, where people are taught religious scriptures and everything. They protested against the violation of religion that was committed by Sheikh Hasina. She and some of her party members are on record saying very insulting stuff about the religion of Islam, and they protested against it. That why are you saying this? And this was again directly backed by India. So this is a very, very short summary, and I believe that you have a lot more questions and something to know about. So
yeah. I have this, you talked about Abrar Fahad, and I'm showing his picture right now for people who are on live stream. They can probably see it. This was a student whose only crime was that he was speaking up on Facebook posts against, Indian interference in Bangladesh, and it seems that those Facebook posts really angered the agents of Indian state, or the puppets of Indian state within Bangladesh, and they basically took him to a hostel room. The room is called 2011, and there's actually a very nice 45-minute movie. I highly recommend people should watch it. The movie's name is Room Number 2011, and that's the room where Abrar was actually, taken by and tortured to death, one night, and it seems, and this happened, I think, in October 7, 2019, and which actually led to, I think, one of the, harbingers of the revolution is this young man, just 21 years of age. Okay, his picture is right up there. I want people to kind of definitely watch this movie. That will be, your homage to, his sacrifice at such a young age. We do hear about names like Bhagat Singh, Rajguru in India, but Abrar is no less. He raised his voice. He knew he might have to pay a price, but he stood by his ideals. Ismail, you talked about I think Pilakan massacre, Abrar. What about the waters? Can anybody talk about what is happening with this waters? Is India interfering and kind of taking away some of the river waters as well?
Okay, so what you have raised with regards to the water portion, I would like to elaborate on it a little bit, and then I believe Asfar, he may be able to add on it further. So with regards to the water, one thing that India has always done ever since Bangladesh came into existence as a state is that they've always tried to deprive us of our fair water share. One of the things that Pinakranjan Chakravarti, I believe, who was a former ambassador of India to Bangladesh, he said in late 2009 that water must not be made into a political issue in Bangladesh, and Bangladeshi people or Bangladesh is creating problems by talking about this issue. So this was the, I would say, brazenness. This was the sheer brazenness of a serving Indian ambassador back in 2009. So they created dams such as the Tista Dam and Farakka Dam and a few other dams, and they have not been giving our fair water share for the most part for the last 50 years for the most part. Again, there was an issue that India had, and they said that they do want to give us our fair water share, but they didn't. But in the mid 70s, when Ziaur Rahman he came into power, he was not having the fact that he was not agreeing with the fact that India is not giving us a fair water share. So he took up this issue to United Nations, and then India was compelled to sign a new water treaty with Bangladesh. So that we were getting our fair water share. So I believe that Asfar he can perhaps add on it further and to enlighten the audience on Indian water aggression in Bangladesh, like they have done in Punjab, especially with regards to depriving Sikh farmers. So, Asfar, if you would like to add in some words or some things that can enlighten the audience.
Yeah. As far adds in, I just want to tell audience I have something up on my screen. It seems that there are 54 shared rivers between India and Bangladesh, and and just to highlight what Ismail pointed out, Ziaul Rahman was one of their most pro Bangladeshi patriotic presidents, whose wife is actually Sheikh Khalida Zia, who recently left for heavenly abode, and I think it is why. So it was steps like these where Zia Rahman actually took this dispute to the UN, which India probably never liked. Khalida, Zia Rahman and neither Khalida Zia, and India always preferred politicians like Sheikh Hasina, who probably played along with the Indian diktats on this issue, but not trying to. But I'm just kind of interpolating from what you have heard. But Asfar, over to you. What can you add on the water dispute?
Yeah, you actually hit the nail on the head. We have 54 rivers, major rivers in Bangladesh, and being a agriculture dependent land with a very large population, water is a lifeline, right? Because even now, almost half of our population is involved in agriculture. So given the climatic changes and other risks that we face, getting a consistent supply of water, especially in the dry summer season, is very, very critical. Unfortunately, what has happened over the decades is that since none of these rivers originate in Bangladeshi territory, being the upper riverine nation, India has built hundreds, not tens, not dozens, hundreds of dams on all of these rivers to artificially divert the water to create hydroelectricity where it does not make even logical sense in terms of basic, geology and geography. The abuse of building dams all across Bangladesh has actually killed or starting to kill off our rivers. So this has had a huge impact. Like if you look at our northern region, the farmers have been forced to dig deep and look for water in our underground reservoirs. Those aquifers are drying out. They're at dangerous levels, which threatens millions of people and their livelihood. In southwest region, because of increased salination in the soil, because of the rivers dying, the land is also highly unproductive. Most land won't grow most of the crops that we're used to, forcing farmers to go into other livelihood. The damage that India has continuously done is unmentioned. I mean, I don't have enough time on this call to talk about how much the water has cost us and is still costing us. This upcoming summer season of this year, we will once again face the same kind of crisis. There are orchard owners in northern Bangladesh who were forced to truck in water because that was how dire, their underground reservoirs were also drying out. So it is a very, very critical issue. And India has continuously used it as a political weapon, as an item of negotiation with Bangladesh to further oppress and, utilize it as that's been the biggest issue. Even in the Hasina years of the last 15 years, she has been unable to get a single water deal done, even after making all these promises with her about her close relationship with Delhi. There has been no progress. The Ganges Water Treaty is up for renewal. I've put it up on the Nest for those who are interested to look at it. It talks about the challenges that we face. If nothing else, that is one area that can definitely lead to a huge amount of conflict. We joke about water wars globally. Bangladesh may be one of those first areas where we will see that in action. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just putting up these things in the Nest. Thank you for sharing these, especially on the water disputes. And I'm actually showing on my screen, people who are on live stream. There's actually a documentary, and I urge even my Bangladeshi brothers. The documentary name is called Final Assault. Okay, and it is how the Indian state is actually looting all the river waters of Punjab and diverting and literally wasting that water in the deserts of Rajasthan, but not letting a single droplet of water flow into Punjab, which used to be a water abundant region. From a water abundant region, due to these policies and dams, today, Punjab is actually a water stressed region, and it is threatening, the food security, not just in South Asia but globally. It is totally, the Indian state, is totally destroying the Indus River water basin, and it'd be too late if the world doesn't wake up to this reality. Definitely, I urge everyone to watch this documentary called Final Assault. Plus, I had written, an article for Bars News in which I had analyzed the river water dam inflow outflow data to prove conclusively that the 2023 floods that were in Punjab were actually totally engineered by the Indian state. The way they controlled the inflow outflow, you can easily, dams are supposed to save you from floods, but if you, depending upon how you use them, you can also cause artificial floods. So after the farmer agitation, we saw that the Indian state actually did use water as a weapon, and it flooded, caused immense damage to the Sikhs in Punjab. Very horrific, and it's not surprising that they are weaponizing water against Bangladesh as well. And Kabir, thanks for taking co-host. Um, so outside that, on the water thing, let's talk about Sheikh Hasina a bit. So why do people consider Sheikh Hasina to be pro-India? Are there any examples, or like, is that something that is very real, or is it like more that, like, yeah, talk about Sheikh Hasina, like why is she so unpopular?
So I can start a little bit, and then I'll let Kabir Bhai and Ismail also add to it. So basically, the basic structure of the Hasina regime was that of a Stalinist state. Her father, when he took power in 1972, instituted a one-party state known as Bakshal, which was modeled on a Soviet-style absolute dictatorship with no democracy, one political party, endless corruption. And that particular state was able to exist due to political support of India. So there was a military coup that removed him from power, and Sheikh Hasina was exiled. She spent the next decade in India being groomed by the Indian intelligence so that she could make a return. And when she did make a return into politics, from day one, she has been working towards creating that guidance from India. If you want to look at examples of Indian hegemony and how Sheikh Hasina established that, I can give you just a couple examples. One is the Assam refinery, which created a direct pipeline just to supply diesel to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh herself has had expanded oil refinery capacity in Chittagong, which needed urgent upgrades, which were still not made. Instead, you had an anti-national deal done with India. The second was the Adani power plant from Jharkhand in India, which was purpose-built to supply electricity to Bangladesh, while Bangladesh had excess capacity. So instead of importing the necessary LNG fuel or expanding that capacity, we were importing electricity from India. So these were done not just out of not out of economic necessity. These were done to create dependency on the Indian state so that this hegemony can be entrenched, because it worked both ways. Indian hegemony allowed for the Indian puppet Sheikh Hasina to stay in power, but at the same time, it met the national interests and goals of the Indian state. So when she finally came to power in the last 10 years, this situation deteriorated to that extent where even the bureaucracy had lost control and became directly associated with the Indian state. For example, Ajit Doval, he was famous in Dhaka with joke that when Ajit Doval would come to the Dhaka airport, the whole city would know because there would be huge traffic jams. They would set a corridor from the airport directly to Hasina's residence. So he would take a flight from India, come drop at the airport, the whole city is locked down. This VVIP will go straight to Hasina's residence. And imagine, he heads a very critical, NSA role, which is counterintelligence or intelligence for the Indian state. That's the level of access Indian state had on Hasina. So, sometimes it may be unpopular to say so, but in the Hasina era, Bangladesh was almost a colony of India. We did not have free will, as you can see with the example of Abrar. Just speaking out against an unjust deal and speaking out against Indian hegemony cost him his life. So I will let the others also add to that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of, and I have heard this from many people that it almost felt like it was a colony of India, and literally this is how we feel like in Punjab. Every Sikh feels that we are like a colonized nation because our river waters, we don't have control of our waters, our judiciary, our laws, everything Delhi has to decide, and this is not what was promised to us. When Sikhs actually decided to divide Punjab and have the eastern part kind of be part of India. We have a hand raised. Maybe I'll take those questions. Skamish, go ahead.
Thank you, Rajit. My question is more specific related to the floods that happen in Punjab. And what we notice is that they shut down all the rivers that are going out of Punjab during these floods. Does that happen with Bangladesh as well?
Okay, that's have you guys seen like a sinister use of dams and shutting the water at inopportune times?
Like, I can give you just one clear example. So there was a devastating flood last year in the district of Feni, which is just south of the Indian state of Tripura. So Tripura being a hilly region where there are a lot of tea plantations and other type of plantations, it is at an advantageous position because it's upstream. So India has built, I believe, a series of 14 dams across the Feni River that crosses across Tripura. And what we have noticed is when there was flash floods or heavy rainfall, without any communication, without any precautions, they would unleash the dams on us. But at the same time, when we are in the dry season, in peak summer before the monsoon, or even in the winter time, those dams, that river is almost dead. You can walk across that river to the extent where some people even try to extract sand directly without having to use any equipment because the riverbed is completely dry. So absolutely, India does abuse the dams that they have designed. It's not meant, like I said, not just for their internal usage, but also as a political tool against Bangladesh, right? So we also have to do a significant amount of work to counter these narratives and issues. For example, the Tista River in the north, it comes from Sikkim in the far north and is a major water source for North Bangladesh, which is our main agricultural zone. So for decades now, we have been trying to build a Tista barrage to control the water flow and also to habilitate irrigation in that poverty-struck region. There were multiple Chinese proposals and investment offers, but none of which we could proceed with due to unbelievable opposition from India, not just in private, but in public. And you can also read about that. I'll put something up in the nest on that as well. So the water has been used as a weapon against Bangladesh, and mostly because all 54 of our joint rivers originate in India. We don't have, being a delta, being flat mostly, we don't have a single river that originates in Bangladesh, which makes us even more vulnerable. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah. And we also have Coin who joined us. Coin, thanks for taking the co host. And please go ahead and ask your question. Yeah, Coin, your voice is not clear.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Is
now.
it a bit better now?
Yeah, way better.
How's it next?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, just running around. Yeah, so with regards to the pattern that the Indian state uses against its neighbours and even internal against states, water as a weapon, I heard you mention. So has Bangladesh documented over time incidences? Because from my recollection, I think the ousting of Sheikh Hasina, there was water again sort of flooding Bangladesh. And I think this time the Bangladesh government did call India out. And with the recent operations in Europe between India and Pakistan, India, one of the main, I suppose, threats was again to stop water. So water is being used by India, but it hasn't been brought into the purview or the light of the international audience or agencies. So is this something that the new government will look at the historical incidences and going forward? Because I think in Punjab, I think Harjeet, you could probably correct me or put the right figure in. The last couple of incidences, just in the flooding of Punjab, there's been figures of between, I think, $70 to $80 billion worth of damage done to Punjab alone. So that historical data all needs to be collected, and I'm assuming, does Bangladesh have anything similar, where they have actually, I suppose, noted down the damage from what would you call it? I think there's a term actually for water terrorism as well by the UN.
So I can take part of that question, and I also like to invite Umran. He's a legal expert in Bangladesh. He'll be able to answer more in detail. Right. So the government. Oh, go ahead, Umran. I think you can be the best person to talk about this.
No. So yeah, that's right. I mean, what the other speaker said, Coin. For the first time, actually, this was documented last year when there was a big flood, and there were a lot of articles in the media by other international law experts talking about Customer International and all that. Because there are several dams on the northeastern side, and there is always the likelihood that those dams are being opened up and water comes into Bangladesh. And Pakistan has actually raised India's Indus water disputes in international forums. And the suspension of the Indus Treaty is absolutely illegal because they're not allowed to suspend a treaty. There is no provision for that. So that puts a lot of concern because the major treaty that we have, there's only one treaty. We have 54 rivers. We have a water sharing pact for only one river. We should be having for all the rivers. We have for one river, and that treaty expires this year. And it took almost 30 years to get the first treaty. So people are wondering how long it's going to take to negotiate the renewal of this treaty. Hopefully, it's not going to be too much of a sore, but that becomes a major sore point then.
Yeah, and Imran, we just want to add, not sure if I would love to get in touch with somebody on your side who is working on this from a legal perspective. I have a lot of authenticated Indian or Government of India data, which conclusively proves how they use this river waters as a weapon in Punjab. And I won't be surprised that the same modus operandi is being used in Bangladesh as well. So, not sure if there is a scope, but I would love to. We don't have a state of our own, so we would love to, tag along if you guys are doing something legally internationally, just to give you more ammunition that you can use if you have to. So, I'll probably reach out to you separately for that.
So, Harjit bhai, the other thing, just quickly to add, there are civic society organizations that have been working on this. However, in the Hasina era, they were scared to operate. They were always harassed with political cases, with physical violence, with threats. One of the key ones I can list out is the Environment Lawyers Association. The current environmental minister is actually from that organization. She came to prominence because she stood up to the water violence of India. Her husband was detained, and she faced an immense amount of threat in the last 15 years. But her courage has always stood out. So there are organizations, both legal and scientific, that have documented the abuse in terms of water. Because water is such a critical area, there is an extensive amount of knowledge and specialization specifically on river and riverine issues in Bangladesh on the legal side as well. However, I'm not so sure that Bangladesh will take an aggressive position because the Ganges Water Treaty is up for renewal this year itself. So how the Bangladesh government approaches this, and India has been mentioning that this might be a carrot that they may use to normalize relationship with Bangladesh. So I am actually worried on how this Ganges Water Treaty is utilized. But to Umran's point, there are UN regulations specifically about water sharing between upper riverine and lower riparian nations. So Bangladesh has to pursue this through the UN, through the current mechanism. Otherwise, India is simply going to drag this issue for years, potentially decade, while forcing Bangladesh not to act. So that's my 2 cents.
Got it. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to follow up with you guys, and we're going to take help from you, because if you have some experts who've been working on this, because I have a lot of data that I have now downloaded from the Indian sites, and I've done my analysis, but having some experts help us build a case will be great. Having said that, moving on, now what was this revolution? Can anybody touch upon what happened last year, and how was Sheikh Hasina forced out of the government, and what is the current state of that revolution? What are the changes that the students or the people who bought out the revolution are trying to put in place? If we can talk about that a bit.
Sure, I think I can take up that question. So, what were the causes of the revolution? I'll just add in, because what Sheikh Hasina has done in 15, 16 years, I believe that she can be compared to dictators of the past, what they have done in like 150 years or 100 years. So with regards to why the revolution took place, another reason why this revolution took place is Sheikh Hasina, this Indian-backed dictator Sheikh Hasina, and our so-called party, which I liken it to an international terrorist organization, the Awami League. What they have done is any sort of legitimate grievances that any person of any social background, of any religion, of any economic background, whether they had any legitimate grievance, there was no space in Bangladesh from 2008 to 2024, pretty much. I remember clearly that India not giving the fair water share, that's one thing. And due to this, there were certain processions that were taking place right within the capital city of Dhaka. So there was this organization called the Lighthouse. You may be able to find some sources on Google, or I'll link some sources here myself. Just DM me and I'll link the sources where the processions of the fact that India was not giving us the fair water share. Now that's one. In 2012, the leader of the opposition, the opposition party, and the leader of the opposition was Khaleda Zia, and in that opposition party, there was a former member of parliament. His name was Ilyas Ali. He spoke about India not giving us a fair water share and aiming to use Bangladesh as a transit. Now, that is an extremely dangerous proposition because, as we well know over here, people who are listening in, that the Christians and the Muslims and the other minorities, especially in the northeastern part of India, of course, the Indian state has been oppressing Sikhs as well since 1948 and onwards, culminating in the 1984 massacre of Sikhs in the so-called Operation Blue Star perpetrated by the Indian state. But India wanted a transit right through Bangladesh for its so-called security concerns, whereas it is just an artificial union of states that India is just has been trying to keep under control since 1948. And Ilyas Ali spoke of the fact that India is going to get a transit now within Bangladesh. They will try to do that. He spoke this in an interview, and he was disappeared right inside our capital city by Indian-backed agents in 2012, and there has been no word from him ever since. Is he alive? Is he dead? There is no word of it, and that was in 2012. So the culture of enforced disappearances is something that was quite alien to Bangladesh ever since Bangladesh came into being. Apart from the time when Sheikh Hasina's father, who was also a dictator, he actually killed more than 30 to 40,000 opposition activists, leaders, and so on. The thing that Sheikh Hasina was also trying to do, what in 1971 to 1975, there was actually a famine where lakhs of people died, and it was found that India supplied fake currencies back then. So right after Sheikh Hasina came into power, we also found cases where India actually was able to penetrate within certain parts of our security forces, such as the police, where we found that Indian nationals were actually, they pretended to be Bangladeshis, and it was actually found in a 2015 report. So this...
Wow. So Indian nationals were working inside Bangladesh, basically.
Yes.
Wow.
In the Bangladesh police. Yes, I
Wow.
can give you a YouTube link, and if you want to DM me, I'll just put it in the comment box. So these are facts, and it has been also found, if I want to elaborate further, in the 1980s that Bangladesh army, it has various cantonments within the nation itself, within our country. So in Dhaka cantonment, right within the capital city, it was found in the 1980s that one of the Muslim imams who basically leads the prayers in a cantonment mosque, he was found out to be an Indian national, and he had basically some satellite connection devices, satellite communication devices, to be more specific. So this was fun. So now we Bangladeshis realized that okay, this thing is being repeated once again, and I would like to invite everyone to look up on the so-called India-Bangladesh Friendship Agreement, which was in the name of friendship. It was basically Bangladesh being subservient to Indian dictates. It was signed in 1972, and over there, the Awami League and Sheikh Mujib, he signed that, and over there it was shown that Bangladesh will not have any border forces. So that was probably a reason why in 2009, after Sheikh Hasina came into power, the Pinkana massacre took place. So again,
Wow. So India didn't want you guys to have border forces even, huh? Wow.
No. That's just one part, Harjeet.
Wow.
Let me just add in a few things. Bangladesh will not have like border forces of its own. India, and it was stated like explicitly and implicitly that Bangladesh's military needs are going to be taken over by this generous and so ever caring and so straightforward and earnest neighbor of ours, which is Hindutva India. That's what they like to say. So the military part is going to be controlled by India. Yes, you can look it up. I will definitely put up the link here. So, and also Bangladesh will be consulting India in matters of foreign affairs and other matters. And the civil portion, the civil departments and the administration will be taken care of by India. In the meanwhile, unless like Bangladesh creates its own civil society, like civil administration itself.
Who signed this, Ismail? Who signed this agreement? Which year was it signed?
This was signed by Sheikh Hasina's father, Sheikh Mujib.
Wow.
Who was yes, and this is basically traitorship at its highest. What can be said? You're signing off a nation's rights, and for that, if you are being a traitor, then we found the same thing happening with Sheikh Hasina as well.
So is that the reason why Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, for people to understand, he was the original, leader when Bangladesh gained independence from Pakistan? So is that why now his title is also being taken away? I heard like his statue was also taken down someplace?
Right. So to answer your question, what happened is that from 2008 to 2024, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he was someone who was made into someone who was basically considered to be like a demigod of sorts. You cannot question him. You cannot question the history and so on. But we knew, people who were aware, most people, they knew that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he signed off Bangladesh to India in the called Indo-Bangladesh friendship agreement. And what you're saying with regards to the statues and everything else, Sheikh Hasina always said that, my father did so much for the country. Millions of people died in the 1973 to 1974 famine in Bangladesh, and that was because the Awami League, they stole, the Indian-backed Awami League, they stole, and they siphoned off money to India. So this was all coming.
That reminds me, Ismail, and maybe somebody can comment if that is true. In that movie, on Abrar Fayaz killing, there is a scene where this Abrar's father goes to the fish market and he's asking for the fish, and the fisherman is quoting him 1,600 rupees per kg. And then the person says that, hey, why is it 1,600 when you are the Indian state is like the Bangladesh government is exporting fish at 1,200 rupees per kg to India? Why I'm being forced to buy it at 1,600? So sorry to interrupt you, but is that true, that incident in that movie? Is that what you guys also experienced? That Bangladesh trade also was done in a way that it benefited India, and you people on the ground could feel it, that we are actually losing.
Yes, what you've gotten to quite a decent degree, quite a nice degree, I would say. You have got an idea of what it's all about. Yes, well, what Abrar Fahad, he was raising a very important topic in his Facebook post as well, that we are sending in one of our biggest signifiers as a Bangladeshi nation, that we have an ample amount of fish, and delicious fishes at that, and probably the most delicious being the hilsha fish. So the hilsha fish, was something that is considered to be part of our natural diet. This is something that we cherish and we also export. But what Sheikh Hasina did was she exported it to such a degree that the price of Hilsha, which is per kg, was taka 1600, but years before it wasn't like that. It was like taka 500, 400, 300. There were cases in the past decades, but due to Sheikh Hasina exporting it to such an extent, there was a shortage. There was an artificial made shortage by this Indian dictator Sheikh Hasina, and she exported so much that the price hiked up to taka 1600. So that was my answer to what you stated.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ismail. Just a quick question. Since we are talking about the runway to the revolution, I was wondering if you or the others could talk about the linear connection between Abrar Farhad's, rejection of Indian hegemony and having the courage to speak out, and then the student movement that started in 2017 and 2018. 2017 was the student movement against discrimination and quota system, which were specifically aligned to Sheikh Hasina's party. And then in 2018, we also had the student movement for road safety, and how all of those were actually protests against both Sheikh Hasina and not just her government, but also Indian hegemony, and how it, walked itself into 2024 for the July Revolution. I also see Kabir Bhai, Assalamu Alaikum, if you also want to add a few words on that.
Hey, thank you. I will like to speak about Hadi, so I'm waiting for that time.
Yeah, let's walk straight into it, Kabir. Let's walk into Hadi.
Before that, then I would like to give you a transition, because you mentioned the movie quite a few times, which I was obviously involved in producing. We did talk to Abrar's family, especially his brother, to get various details. So that's why the movie it's not a documentary, but it's more of a storytelling, because documentary is something that we felt we would not be able to do well. Especially, you won't believe it, we did not have access to the university where he was killed. The university is the most prestigious university in Bangladesh. It's called BUET, Bangladesh Engineering University, and that's where he was killed. But the university would not let us film, do anything, even show the film afterwards, because the Indian hegemonic people, the people who are part of Bangladesh, they're actually Bangladeshis, and they're professors and they're in academia a lot, and they're still supporting India. And that's why it's very, very difficult for us to remove this cancer from Bangladesh. It's going to take years, maybe decades. I don't want to jump into Hadi, but I want to tell you that Abrar is when I heard of Abrar was already a lot later. I heard of Abrar in 2024. I was disconnected, so I did not hear about Abrar. So I heard of Abrar, and we thought this is the first thing we should be sharing. This is the first absolutely, I don't want to say perfect, because somebody dying cannot be perfect. It is the most important story to be told. And since Abrar, we had obviously the revolution, and in the revolution, the way I would describe the documentation, describe the revolution, is that not only Indian hegemony was a key thing, pressuring. It was let's think of the current. The current in the revolution was Indian hegemony. However, here is what my observation, Harjit Bhai, my observation is what triggered. Basically, you have current, but you don't have that killer wave. It's just like we have if we think of an ocean,
yep.
we are looking for that killer wave coming in. You know what caused it? It was the word Rajakar. What Hasina did, Hasina told in an interview or something that why wouldn't we have the quota system and so on and so on? We don't want to give it to the Rajakars. We don't want to give benefit to the Rajakars. And again, I'm not quoting, I'm not paraphrasing. You can find that. But as soon as the students heard that what? she's calling us Rajakar, which is a word that refers to people who betrayed Bangladeshi people during the 1971 war. So people who were against Bangladesh, people who are specifically, supporting Pakistan, the Bangladeshis that were supporting Pakistan were called Rajakar because they would call in Pakistani army and tell them where the Mukti Juddhas, the people who are for freedom fighters were, and they would get them killed, or they would tell who is supporting the Mukti Juddhas. So Rajakar is a bad name. Rajakar is the worst, is the traitor. Rajakar is the traitor. So when Hasina said, I don't want to give it to the Rajakars, the students immediately flipped it and says, "Oh, so we are the Rajakar then. We are the sons and daughters of Rajakar. We are Rajakar." So that's actually basically, simply wiped out her any defense. She could not put anything in front of it, because once people think that, that okay, you want to call me Rajakar, I'm going to be the Rajakar, and I'm going to go forward as Rajakar. So they actually flipped this script, and it empowered, it made everybody mad, angry, because it's a self-worth issue. It's when we are, when it's like calling someone the N-word, right? It's like giving someone, they're going to flip out. They're going to just not think anymore. This is exactly what happened. The kids, the students, they just simply were repeating this, chanting this, that we are Rajakar. Yes, we are. We are the, who said it? Hasina said it. So that's actually was the slogan. That was the slogan of the entire student revolution, which I believe is a very powerful story. The hegemony is what has been boiling up. The hegemonic behavior has been going on for decades, and actually since the creation of Bangladesh. But she made it a machine. She turned every instrument of the state, police, law enforcement, administration, academia, everything against Bangladesh. Pitted the hegemonic behavior in every single place she can. I mean, it is still there. The sad thing is still there. We are going to fight this, even with a new government or whatever. We are fighting this daily on Twitter. We are fighting this in everyday life in Bangladesh. So that is and I think Hadi was the beginning of the solution. That's why I want to talk about Hadi as a solution to this problem. So we can come back to that if you want to continue the flow that you are going for, which is the describing the revolution. So
Yeah.
Hadi is
No, this is great. So let's talk about, so the revolution, like, this is building up. We had Fayyad who is murdered, and then Sheikh Hasina is calling students the Razakars, and there is uprising. Let's talk about Osman Hadi. Who was Osman Hadi? Why is he so popular? Why was he so important? And then we can talk about his murder.
So I like to cover that because I've been researching, and again, I'm not in the field. I'm not in Bangladesh. I'm outside. I only knew about Hadi through a friend on Twitter. He is not here today. Otherwise, he would be great. His name is Uncle Life. He's actually the one who introduced me, because he started talking about Hadi as an independent, candidate, and then we learned about Hadi. The problem with fighting hegemony is extremely difficult, because we have it. It is not the raw agents that I'm worried about. They are going to be identified very easily. How many? There's like 40,000 raw agents in Bangladesh, maybe 50,000, maybe 1 lakh, 100,000, whatever number. It's just insignificant. The bigger problem is the ingrained hegemonic behavior in our own society. We have converted, to the Indian way. Our brain has been washed, programmed, reprogrammed, and many of us, even outside Bangladesh, are having difficulty getting it out of our system. And so what Hadi did is Hadi simply figured out that the root cause of the problem. And this is why I consider him a leader, because he identified the root cause. And the root cause was that we cannot get rid of the hegemonic behavior. We have to figure this out from a different angle by going for the more root level stuff, which is, what is our identity? Is it the Indian identity? Is it the Bengali? There's a word called Bengali. A Bengali will immediately take you across the border. because West Bengal people in West Bengal, we also call them Bengali. But is it Bengali or is it Bangladeshi? And if it is Bangladeshi, what is our true identity? Is it what we've been practicing? Because every activity we do, every event we do, every national song we sing comes from India. So how do you change that? What was the identity? The identity was a Bangladeshi Muslim Islamic identity. A country where more than 90% Muslims live, they deserve an identity that they can relate to. Immediately, he said, "That is it. We need to identify as a Bangladeshi Islamic, cultural identity is our identity." But because he was a leader, he said, "Whoa, we cannot get rid of the people that are not Islamic." So there is people, Hindus, Christians, and Buddhists, and other people who have other kind of cultures. So he introduced the concept of insaf, which basically means justice and fairness. So he also said that not only we have to practice an Islamic identity, in a Muslim identity, Islamic identity, and that doesn't mean Arabic identity. We have significant cultural identity as Islamic. One of our poet, his name is Kazi Nazrul Islam, and one of the topmost poet in the world. He is one of the most fierce. His poems are one of the most fierce, patriotic poem that you can think of, and there are many other examples of these kind of writers, poems, and intellectuals. Now, what if we follow them, build from their existing work and build on it, but at the same time, because it's 2025 or 2024, we cannot be unjust to the people who are not part of this program. So there is the Hindus, there is the Christians, there is the Buddhists. So we have to be careful and we have to embrace it with insaf, which is justice for all. Even for my enemy, I have to be just. So he exactly added that. This is like, I want to introduce Islamic or Bangladeshi Muslim or Islamic cultural identity with insaf. And that is how he covered all bases. So as a young guy of 32 years old, he was already figuring this out, and then he was talking about it, which is what he was spreading the message, and then he built the platform, and that platform is called the what is the name? Inqilab Mantra. Basically, Inqilab is another word, obviously, for freedom, right? Inqilab is the other word. So Inqilab Mantra was the platform where he would bring in books and people together and have conversations, have music. Whenever you hear Islamic, immediately the antennas for the West goes up, or people who are so-called academic.
So was he a musician as well? Like I've heard what was his what did he teach?
He could sing. He's a poet.
He's a poet.
I would call him more of a very, very, one of the, like the one I mentioned, Kazi Nazrul Islam, who is our national. He would be not his caliber. He was getting there. He had that fight in him.
Got it.
And so some of his poetry is unbelievable.
So let's do one thing. I have a small speech of interview of his. If you guys don't mind, let me just play it so people can hear what his views were. Right. So I'm going to just play it out and let me know if you guys can't hear.
I think if you ask the people, even as I'm a faculty of a private university, so for understanding the psyche, I always ask this question with the university students, rickshaw pullers, and all kinds of people. When I mention the term Bangladesh, in our mindset, we only think the land of Bangladesh. And we also think we are captured by India. We have no capacity, no capabilities. We are always dependent on the Indian satisfaction. If India permits me to go abroad, yes, we can go. And if India doesn't allow me to have a cup of tea with my neighbors like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, or any others, no, it cannot be. I think we have to rethink this position because it is a framework. Bangladesh is in the Indian territory. No, I think Bangladesh, what will I say actually? When we say Bangladesh, we don't think we have a big sea. The resources of this sea, not only water, and we have good neighbors. We can go by this sea, we can connect by this sea. So the first fact is we would like to connect all our territories, including our sea. The second one is, if I just give an example, what is how Indian hegemony works here. First one, you think, our cinema hall or movie theaters, the Indian movies got released, huge people go there, enjoy the movies, fine. But the Bangladeshi cinema don't get any special treatment in India, even in West Bengal or Kolkata. The second one is all the India channels, second and third class channels, are open in Bangladesh. Do you think they only telecast the cinemas or series or dramas? No, they sell the advertisements by the multinational corporations. So the investors, the corporations give the money to the Indian channels, but no Bangladeshi channel is open in India. So by this system, India is creating hegemony on Bangladesh by cultural activism, but mainly they are doing the business. They are discriminating with the people of Bangladesh what business can do actually by this part. So our strategy is if Bangladesh allows 10 channels of India to telecast, of course, India must permit 10 channels of Bangladesh to telecast in India. And the fact is, this is the mindset established by the Awami regime and fascist regime. We are bound and we have to be very loyal to these Indian narratives because we don't have any other neighbors. But it is not true. Yes, we have some good neighbors and we had some policy making the checks and balance before the Awami regime of 15 years. So I think India will be alone if India cannot understand the psyche, the people of Bangladesh. So this is the time for a new journey. We want good neighbor, not master. Indian hegemony.
Oh my God! Like, man, what this guy is touching on, really, he's touching on the nerve. Okay, he's this 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 yeah, there are two things that stand out for me. I really want to call it out. Sorry if I'll take some time. One thing is he talked about the cultural activism of India and the tools of these TV channels, Hindi TV channels, the Bollywood, how India very smartly is has created this fake Indian culture and is gradually taking away the native culture, which are the real nations and their nativity, and putting them as second class, and trying to kind of impose this Indianness through state powered money, which again is looted from these colonies, and then funneled it through Bollywood and brute state power and unfair deals and rights. And the other aspect he touched upon was, I think he didn't elaborate enough, but he's right, that India thinks we don't have neighbors, but we do have neighbors, and he's right. India is not the neighbor of Bangladesh. The neighbor of Bangladesh is Assam, Nagaland, Tripura, Bengal, Bihar. These are nations which are your real neighbors. When we here in Punjab think of Punjab, like, we don't think about land and we're going to occupy this much land. We think of people, these other nations who reside alongside us. And the problem with this idea of India is that it makes people disconnect from the reality, and they kind of adorn this idea of India, some Bharat Varsh, Mahabharat kind of a religious idea, which supersedes the people on the ground. So that's why I say, like, I think this evil has to be challenged, and I'm so glad that Osman was challenging it. Unfortunately, his life was extinguished or taken away by these fascists too soon. With that said, we have this hand raised for quite some time. We'll come back to Osman, But Dharma, I don't want to keep you waiting for too long. Please ask. But if you can keep it alongside Osman, and then we'll move on to other topics. If you have something to ask more about Osman, please go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on something that was said earlier about Indian officers in Bangladesh. My parents were both my mother and father were with the Indian Armed Forces. I've grown up in army cantonments, and I've seen many Indian officers being offered deputations to Bhutan as well as Bangladesh in the 80s and 90s. And these deputations for between 3 months to 6 months, and they were very sought after for Indian Army people, because the pay was good. They used to get a daily rate for foreign service, difficulty allowance or whatever they call it. And the reverse also happened. So there were Bangladeshi officers. I remember working in defense labs in India, both in defense labs as well as in defense cantonments. They were there in Chandi Mandir cantonment, which is near Chandigarh, in Pathankot, in Pune cantonment, in Alsur cantonment, which is in Bangalore. We have seen Bangladeshi officers and Bangladeshi scientists who were working with Indian defense labs. So I guess that was this kind of exchange of military officers working in each other's countries goes back to the 70s, I guess, because of that treaty that was signed. It has become more unfair, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, after a treaty was signed between when Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister and Sheikh Hasina became Prime Minister in the 90s.
Dharma, these are very, very good questions. We're gonna, if you can hold on to them a bit longer, we will discuss this very top. I think you're raising very important question. I just want to play a small clip, okay? We heard Bangladeshi speakers how they feel about India. We heard Osman how they feel. Let's hear a bit about what Indians. When I say Indians, I mean like Indians, people who identify themselves as Indians. What is their feeling? Are their feelings like of a good neighbor? And I just picked up this random clip. Okay, this is not specially selected. I just found it on the internet. Let's just play this. Okay, there are these two Indian YouTubers, very famous. One is a Defense Talks by Adi, and there is this Lavina from Resonant News. Okay, let's just hear them out. What the Indians think about Bangladesh.
I do not have any shame in saying that Bangladesh should not exist as a country. I mean, it should not. Ideally, वो एरिया हमारे अंडर ही आना चाहिए. हमको पहले अपना डिफेंस से हमको ऑफेंस जैसी मेंटालिटी और एटीट्यूड में आना पड़ेगा. तब जाके वी कैन पुश आउट एट बांग्लादेश जैसे कंट्री को हम कंप्लीटली कंट्रोल कर पाएंगे. एंड इट माइट साउंड, आई नो बहुत सारे लोगों को ये बहुत ही ना अनडेमोक्रेटिक और बहुत ही क्या कहते हैं ऑप्रेसिव लगेगा, लेकिन दिस इज सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट एट पर्सनल लेवल, एट कंट्री लेवल, कॉन्टिनेंट लेवल पे भी होता है. आई डोंट थिंक कि बांग्लादेश का ये जो हो रहा है ना, दिस इज लाइक ओवरनाइट थिंगी कि टाइफून के साथ ये जो एलओआई, दिस मस्ट बी हैपनिंग, लाइक ये लोग पीछे प्लान करते रहे होंगे. एंड आई एम अ लिटिल पेसिमिस्टिक. मेरे को ये है कि मैं बिल्कुल हिटलर जैसे ख्यालों की, मतलब यू गो विद द हैमर, डिस्ट्रॉय इट. मतलब बांग्लादेश को इस लेवल पे लाना ही नहीं था जहां पे ये लोग वेस्टर्न और चाइनीज एंटिटीज को दोनों को इनकरेज करते हैं. तो अगर चाइनीज फाइटर, इनकी 70 to 80% जो आर्म्स की डील हैं वो तो चाइना के साथ होती हैं. इसमें से फिर अब थोड़ा जो बाकी आ रहा है वो तुर्की कर रहा है, और अब वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज भी आ रही हैं.
Okay, you heard the most peaceful nation in the world and their most peaceful intentions. And the real magic is that they would say this, and then they will also disclaim this, then they will also own this, and they'll also disclaim this. Like you can go into schizophrenia figuring out what they really meant it. But I can tell you they meant it. It's just they don't have the courage to admit it. And in your face, they will have the courage to admit it. That's why they are known as the biggest cowards that humanity has ever given birth to. Sorry to say, but it's a fact. It's a fact. Yeah, Hirday, you had your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you, Harjit bhai. So I just want to give some couple of things about the Hadi. Who is the Hadi? If I can say one thing, he's a cultural hero. he was his fight was a culture. He actually what Kabir Bhai said, that he actually figured it out what is the actual problem in our country. So see, India will never fight with us, because they understand if they will touch Bangladesh, it will be disaster for India. They also understand that they can touch us, but it is a Hotel California. If they come to Bangladesh, they can come, they can destroy, but they cannot leave Bangladesh with their own body. So he understands what is the problem, how India dominate Bangladesh. So he figured it out. This is the cultural. See, so Hadi figured it out so that his fight was revive the Bangladeshi culture, which was suppressed by Hindutva culture after it started during British era, and then it's dominated from 1947. Okay, so see, in Bangladesh you will find Indira Gandhi Cultural Center, Udichi, Chayanor. Those cultural center are elite society in our country. But you will never find that. For example, Jia Rahman Cultural Center, for example, Khaleda Jia Cultural Center. You will not find those kind. You will find from where Indira Gandhi Cultural Center. What is the connection between this?
So you have an Indira Gandhi Cultural Center in Bangladesh?
Yes, we have the Chayanor, we have the Udichi, we have some of these organizations. These are funded by Indian Intel. So, and they will talk about the Rabindranath. Okay, he is a good writer. We respect him. Okay, but the problem is how they portray Rabindranath. For example, if you are a person, for example, Hadi is a Muslim background boy, so he wear a Punjabi, So Indians people who have the Punjabi, who have the cap on the head, they are terrorists, right? From the Indian side. So he is that kind of person. So if you want to be a Rabindranath fan, there is a kind of format. You have to be there is some sort of peoples who are funded by Indian Intel. There is some format. You have to be that way. If you practice Rabindranath with the Muslim identity, you are not allowed. You are not welcome. So Hadi fight was that I will break out that I can be I can culturally practice Rabindranath, Kazi Nazrul Islam, or others, but it is my own way. It's not what you are detect me, what you are telling me that way. No, I will grow myself my own way. I will revive my Bangladeshi culture on my own way. That was the main fight of was the Hadi. So this is the simple basic things I am telling right now. I was so sleepy, so just I want to add this. So if further I need to add, I will add.
Sure. Yeah, Ismail, go ahead.
All right. What he said about Sharif Osman Hadi and Rabindranath Tagore. One of the things that I would like to enlighten the audience, people who are vouching for free Khalistan, and also people who are fed up of the Indian oppression within its own borders, whether it's in Kashmir, whether it's in the northeastern states of Assam, Tripura, and in the southern states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu and so on. One thing that I would like to state about Rabindranath Tagore is that he was a person who directly opposed the establishment of the prime public university of Bangladesh, which is considered to be by most people Dhaka University. He was strongly against the establishment of Dhaka University, and he's also a Brahmin. And Rabindranath Tagore, he claimed that the people of Bangladesh, they do not deserve any universities because we are basically farmers and we are basically street urchins, so we do not deserve any university of our own. These were his exact words, and
Wow.
that.
So this guy, the so-called, Nobel laureate, he basically opposed the Dhaka University itself. Oh man, like very typical
Correct.
Brahmin, right? Like why would the Shudras have the
Yeah,
education?
so he's a very specific type of Brahmin, which we call Kulin Brahmins.
Hmm.
So the specialization about Kulin Brahmins is that their heritage, they came to our lands in the 13th century. They didn't come in any ancient era.
Hmm.
So during the Shena dynasty, they did not recognize the local Brahmins and Brahmins because they were not Indian enough, right? So
Hmm.
they imported these Brahmins from Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh. So they have maintained that purity. They do not intermarry with anyone else. It's only Kulin Brahmins. And that superiority comes from that cleanliness, right? You are a farmer, you're a peasant, you're not fit for this fine, refined, sanskritized language. And I think that was the beauty of Hadi, where he broke that hegemony. When he, in our culture, oration of poetry is one of the most refined forms of art, right? So the way he's able to, recite Qazi Nazrul Islam, his revolutionary poetry, which were used as slogans against the British rule, he was able to imbibe that and express himself, breaking all of these barriers, right? He was not from an elite institution. He comes from a very humble background, but just due to his pure cultural inclination, he was able to break through. And I think that's what makes Hadi so special, that he was a cultural icon. His Inqilab Mancho was an alternative to the current hegemonic culture that is dominated by this Brahminical, Kolkata-based, cultural elite, so to speak. Sorry
Got it.
about the interruption.
Got it. No, that's fine. We'll keep moving it. I know, Hussein, you had your hand raised. We'll come to you. Just one sec. I want to keep moving the conversation. So so Osman Hadi came in as part of the student revolution. What? How far has the revolution succeeded? Sheikh Hasina has been overthrown. What are the revolutionary, I would say, changes that the students have been able to implement? What will happen now? What are we waiting for? Like in elections, I also heard about the talk of referendum. Can somebody educate me about, what is it that the students have been able to achieve till now?
Right. I'll take up on you on that question, Harjeet.
Yeah.
That's okay, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So with regards to that, what have the students been able to achieve? Now, as I've already stated earlier, and people who are joining in later, I'd just like to reinstate one thing, and that is between late 2008 to late around August 5, 2024, which I consider to be a victory of Bangladeshis against Indian hegemony and Indian-based domination and Indian-based tyranny in Bangladesh through its puppet Indian-backed dictator Sheikh Hasina and Sir Islam League. One thing that the students have achieved, I can confidently say, is that we can speak freely about any matters pertaining to our own national interests as Bangladeshis, which we have a heritage going back hundreds of years as a nation. In fact, it was Heraclius. He stated in one of his, I believe that Alexander the Great, he wanted to move towards Bengal. He said that no, we cannot move here because there's too many war elephants. So now we are just representing that original Gangaridaya empire that we had of people from Bangladesh, and we can now speak freely of our own identity. We have the freedom of speech to discuss, to converse. I'm conversing with you, Harjeet, and people who are vouching for a free Palestine, who want Kashmir to be free from the Indian clutches. So we can speak free. That's number one. Number two is, after the revolution, we are now in the process, and that has already been stated by my countryman, Kabir Bhai. He stated that India has been able to entrench itself in key positions. Mind you, the majority of the population, 80 to 90%, is definitely against this Enutma Indian Brahminic hegemony that they have enforced. However, in key positions in the administration, some in the security apparatus, and some in the political parties, we are now in the process of cleaning this out. I believe that some of you might be aware over here, but if you're not, that Bangladesh Air Force actually found some Indian agents who were using Indian pistols. And that was like more than a year ago. That was at around 2024 November or December, around that time. If my memory serves me correct. So we are now also getting to the point where we're pushing back. This revolution has allowed us to push back against these sectors or these individuals, this inside mafia, that inside this criminal network that India has established, and we're being able to push back. The third thing is that we are now getting more in touch with our original identity, which is that we are Bangladeshis. Whether there's Hindus, whether there's Christians, whether there's people of other minorities, there's in fact a Sikh Gurudwara, right, in Dhaka University.
Yep.
Even there's a very minute portion of Sikhs. Even they can practice their religion freely. So we are now getting to a point that we are Bangladeshis, and we're connected towards that identity. And what else has this revolution achieved? The administration. It was laced up with a lot of these army loyalists who were in fact serving India, so they have been jailed. Many of the Army League goons and these cadres and these so-called political leaders, they have been jailed. So we're in the process of cleaning up. And what this student revolution has achieved is that we believe as Bangladeshis that we have the capacity to have the right to our own sovereignty, to our own identity, and to our own nationality. And we're not going to take any dictations from India or any sort of Indian-backed narrative anymore. So this is just a very short answer to your question, Harjeet. I hope that answers.
Yes, so that's perfect. And Ismail, in terms of now the election is coming, I assume that there is this BNP party, which is Sheikh Khalida Zia's party. She's no longer there, but her son is there. There is Jamaat, and then the students have a party. What kind of constitutional reforms have already been put in place, and what are on the plate? And there was talk about some referendum. Can you throw some light on that technicality in a brief, sum up?
Sure, I can add in briefly, and perhaps the others can add in. So, for one, the Army League, they have killed, I believe that the statistics say that they've killed more than 22 in the 15 years, 16 years that they've been in power. They killed around 30 to 40,000 people in Bangladesh, right? Due to various things going on. And they were mostly political killings, and they were killings because of extortion. And it was basically that Indian-backed colony that India perpetrated throughout the Army League. So now they have been banned. Army League is banned in Bangladesh. As of today, it's now 2026. They have been banned for a while now. So that is a reform that's taken place. As to what may happen to the electoral reforms and other things, I believe, Asfar, you may like to add in perhaps on what's been going on towards that sector.
Yeah, while Asfar adds, I'm also showing on my screen the report of the Constitutional Reform Commission. Thanks. I think Aswar is the one who shared the links with me. He sent me a link, to a Google Drive where we have, the status on the constitutional reform. There's an anti-corruption commission reform. There's a judiciary reform commission, and there's also a summary of electoral reform commission. I will be sharing this all on my, page as well for people who are interested in reading more about it. But yeah, Aswar, go ahead.
Right. So I think the foundational problem has been the constitutional and legal framework, right? So if you know, the Bangladeshi Constitution of 1972 was heavily written by the Indian establishment to ensure that Bangladesh remains subservient to India. So that framework has created institutions which are hollow by nature. Even the parliament is organized and structured in such a way that individual MPs don't actually have a way to vote against their own party, right? So the foundational structure of democracy is hollow. That is the main issue that we have faced. Over the years, the Hasina regime has hollowed out additional institutions. For instance, there was no independence of the judiciary, there was no checks and balances, there were no separation of powers. These are the institutional shortfalls which enabled Hasina to take over the democracy of Bangladesh and turn it into a one-party dictatorship. Now, as we discussed earlier, in 1972, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman did something similar. So that same constitution with those same loopholes allowed for a return of autocracy. So the primary goal and objective of the revolution is to think of a second republic, right? It is, I don't want to spread fear, but that is the only way for us to have a true, real beginning. Our biggest issue are our hollow institutions and the democratic framework that we have in place, the constitution that we have in place. So the constitutional reform did start with a much broader agenda and a very ambitious agenda in that, I would say. However, due to having to negotiate with all the other political parties, that agenda has been shriveled down to a great extent. And I think that has been a frustration for the students, for the revolutionaries, and for all those who supported July. So far, the positives I can see are A, return of freedom of speech, B, curtailing of something known as the Digital Securities Act, which severely limits your options of expression, specifically online. And third, the starting of independence for some of the institutions. So, for example, the judiciary reforms have been enacted. The judiciary has been removed to an extent from the control of the parliament to enable it to actually perform its duties. But if you can see my profile, and it's written in Bangla, it means yes or ha. So I am actively pushing for the referendum that's upcoming in the February election. Hopefully when the referendum passes, this will give the reform agenda a mandate of the people, which will ensure that we can continue to fight for the reforms that are necessary for the rewriting of the constitution, our laws, our way to return to a path of democracy, to the dreams that Hadi has left us, to the dreams of all of the revolutionaries. That is still remaining. And to something Kabir Bhai mentioned, we are not sure if this will take a few years or a decade, but we have to be in for the long haul. Otherwise, all the sacrifices of July, all the sacrifices of the revolutionaries, the pain of losing someone like Hadi will be in vain if we are unable to enact the referendum and also make the necessary reforms. Thank you.
Got it. Got it. And on this, as Bangladesh, as we know, India has huge amount of infiltration into your society, into intelligence, army, you name it, and that cleansing process is ongoing. India will still keep trying, to make sure that you guys fail, that their influence remains. They will, try every dirty trick in the book that we know of, using their intelligence agencies, using their overt operatives inside Bangladesh. We know the recent murder of assassination of Osman Hadi by murdering these student leaders. So we know that, right? So the in this fight to free Bangladesh fully and sustainably in the long run, um, ho- do you have allies? Are there? I don't see Bangladesh succeeding without an external help on this one, honestly, because of just the sheer amount of resources that the Indian government can bring to bear. Is the Bangladeshi government pursuing a foreign policy wherein they get support on their defense modernization and trade? If somebody can throw some light on that.
So I can add some. Yeah, sorry.
No, I swear go.
Okay. So because of the change due to the July Revolution, we do see a change in the geopolitics of the region, right? So, for instance, earlier during the Hasina era, everything was India first. Even a small investment proposal for a port in Chittagong had to go through Delhi first. So we have seen that shift happen very quickly. There is willingness and partnership from the Western entities, Western powers to engage with Bangladesh. And of course, it's not without their own interest as well. But we do have some partnership from the West, and we have seen that when India was pressuring Bangladesh geopolitically and through other means, the Western partners, especially the Europeans, did step up. There is renewed interest in investments in Bangladesh, as well as diplomatic engagement. The UN has been a very strong ally, both of the July Revolution and the interim government, and the decisions they have made, like creating an extended office in Dhaka and in Cox's Bazar, shows us that they are here for the long-term engagement. So there are global partners to the revolution. However, I am doubtful that if that is enough. And I agree with you that as revolutionaries of Bangladesh, we have to engage with the broader region because there are others who are in this same fight against Indian hegemony. And obviously, India is not going to make that easy and will interrupt that process as much as possible. But I'm hopeful that as this movement matures, as this continued urge and need for reforms and the goals of the revolution continue, our connections with the wider audience, with other supporters who are fighting the same fight, will strengthen. Specifically, Harjit Bhai, thank you for hosting this particular space with this goal in mind. I think this is exactly the kind of connections and partnerships we need to build.
Yeah, no, we are all in the same boat, and India has been isolating the nations of the subcontinent and then persecuting them. But now the tables have turned. We will isolate India, and but bring together all the victim nations of this hegemonic design. Kabir, you had a hand raised, and I'll move on to. I also want to move on to what happens if Bangladesh becomes really strong and independent, which I'm very sure it will be. Yeah, Kabir.
I want to give you a completely different, take on how we will take on India.
Mm-hmm.
This is not conventional. I'm always looking at a different angle because I'm observer for the most part. So here is what's going to happen. AI is going to be our biggest ally to fight India. You know why? Because in 2 to 5 years, all the Indian offices of Microsoft, Intel, and all these other companies that have expanded India will disappear. Yeah, you heard this first. You didn't think of this because there will be no need for these bachelor's and master's degree level engineers. We are already seeing that. Within 2 to 5 years, there will be no need for these software engineers that India has produced and continue to produce. Their education system has been fine-tuned to develop business application engineers, software engineers that can only work in simple business application, SAP, the things that are large and complicated used by government, those systems. Now, with AI being so advanced, within 2 to 5 years, it's already happened. We already see it. AI is so advanced that software engineering jobs will be going away like the first thing is going to go is software engineering, up to master's degree level. So guess what? All these people who are now bragging about their jobs that they're making 1/3 their Indian salaries are not going to make a single dollar because there'll be no need. There's going to be massive layoffs, massive seismic layoffs in India, and it is going to happen. And Trump is going to love it because he's still there for 3 years. So he's going to love it. So when Google says I'm closing down India, Microsoft says I'm closing down India, Trump is going to give them a tax break. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to close down because they have AI. They already started. This has already started. So you will see how AI, now you will say, isn't this going to affect Bangladesh? Bangladesh doesn't have that. Bangladesh is not dependent on technology labors, technology, assets right now. We don't have that. So in a way, it's just like this. We didn't have land phone in Bangladesh. We didn't have land phone everywhere. But guess what? We switched on to 5G. So we are going to skip by leapfrogging to the advanced most technology. We're going to take an advantage of not making those mistakes. So you're going to see AI going to play a significant role because it's going to carve India's technology prowess and technological benefits that they have, which is that large amount of back offices that they have, where they are servicing American and European companies. Back offices, mainly servicing, building small business applications to work with SAP. For example, California uses a single software, SAP, to manage, and it's a system of record. So guess what? Who are the engineers behind it? Deloitte and Touche hires all of the Indian workers. They fly in Indian people right away to work in the US government, like the state government. Those things are going to be over because they're going to not need that. So I see a technology, the AI technology is going to help reduce India's technology-centric income-generating section or sector, and they're going to have to adjust like everyone else. Just like Bangladesh is going to have to adjust to AI, they're going to have to adjust. And again, they also know this, so there's going to be able to adapt very likely, but they're going to lose a huge chunk of their job market. They're going to use a huge chunk of their education is going to fall, is going to become absolutely zero. Teaching software engineering is the wrong thing to do right now. It's the worst thing. Don't ever tell your cousins and sisters and brothers to go for software engineering. So that's the kind of thing that are happening. I just wanted to point out an angle that India itself is going to be in trouble, that it's not going to be able to, talk about, technology is one of the things they talk about. Oh, we have technology. Not for long. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's I totally agree with you, Kabir. And to that, it's good to hear that you guys have allies who are kind of helping Bangladesh through this. On the allies front, right? On the military front, if somebody can touch upon, because I think it is very important for Bangladesh to also quickly, while trade is important, economic strength is definitely important, but I think there is also an immediate need to build up, some military muscle because the Indian aggression can happen anytime. On that front, does have somebody anything they want to throw light on? How are we going about, strengthening the Navy and the Air Force and Army?
Yeah, I can add a quick summary there. So currently, the current Bangladesh military is a third generation force. However sad it is to say it in those terms. The defense portfolio was directly under Sheikh Hasina for the past 15 years, and she has intentionally deferred any modern purchases, specifically of modern fighter jets, radars, air defense. So basic things that any modern nation should have, Bangladesh is missing. So with the highest priority right now, there are a few things being done. First is, obviously layered air defense. We are partnering with Turkey to A, design the systems, and B, to actually implement that. They're trying to do that by 2027. And second, Bangladesh already has a large defense partnership with China, which was also limited due to fear of India, and always, we have not really upgraded the Chinese systems that we have. So as part of that relationship, we do expect some significant gear, specifically for the Air Force. And in addition, I think there is an ongoing program to create a defense industry in Bangladesh. Bangladeshi laws until recently prohibited export of defense and defense equipment, because of our outdated foreign policy, which states friendship to all, malice to none. really bottlenecked any
It
real
makes me laugh every time
capability
somebody says
development.
that line. Friendship to all,
Yeah.
malice to none. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So those things have been changed. I think currently the biggest priority, from what I have heard, is cybersecurity, because most of our systems were corrupted and infected by Indian systems and intelligence. And B would be drone technology that has been identified for dual purpose, as in building a local industry to support commercial need, and then secondary, of course, for defense application. Both China and Turkey have established facilities to assemble and build components for drones, for military hardware. We expect that to grow significantly as there's interest from Korea and other European partners, as they're trying to build a defense hub so that much of the locally needed equipment is indigenized. And in addition, there has been deals with Turkey to produce munitions, which are basic, like 155 millimeter artillery shells, 105 millimeter artillery shells, mortars, basic equipment and munitions that are used. The Navy has partnered with Damen, which is a Dutch company. And they're also dual nature. They have a civilian segment and they have a military segment. So they are going to be building corvettes and frigates. They recently upgraded over the past year the Navy's own shipyards. So there's expectation that they will also expand production for commercial. So these partnerships and initiatives were achieved pretty quickly, which most of the defense establishment or defense enthusiasts in Bangladesh were very skeptical about. But I think, to be perfectly honest, I don't see modernization to be accomplished until 2030, when we start getting the air defense equipment as well as modern jets. There are fighter pilots who are already training in Turkey and China in anticipation of some of these enhancements, but it's a significant area of concern.
Got it. On Ismail, I know we have a hand raised. We'll come to you, Rosalind. Ismail, can you talk about a bit about now the neighborhood of Bangladesh, especially on the eastern side? I know the situation in the northeast of today, India. Tomorrow we will know what it is pretty complex. We have these for the sake of audience. Okay, I'll quickly walk you through the geography and political map of the northeast, which is east of Bangladesh, that area which today is under Indian occupation. We call it's just sometimes it is referred to as seven sisters, six sisters, depending upon how you look at it. On the top is Arunachal Pradesh, which actually before 1947 was part of China, but India started, very cleverly showing it as part of its map. Very, very thinly populated area. And this most probably will end up with China in a short period of time. Then on the south of that is Assam. Then we have south of Assam, we have two states, Meghalaya, which is actually which borders Bangladesh, and then we have Nagaland, which is toward more on the east towards Burma side. And then underneath them comes Manipur, and then underneath Manipur are two states, Tripura, which again borders with Bangladesh, and Mizoram. So if you count these, Arunachal, Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, and Tripura, these are the seven sisters. Or you could call them six sisters if you don't look at Arunachal. So Ismail, I believe there have been freedom struggles going on in this part, like against Indian hegemony. Many of these areas are already autonomous because India had to give them autonomy, especially like Nagas. Which are the major groups here which are fighting for independence from India, and how are they looking at the developments in Bangladesh?
Right. So thanks for the question. So one thing that you have stated with regards to how do these states perceive the Bangladeshi Revolution of July-August 2024. I believe that some of the viewers, some of the listeners over here might be aware, but I'm still elaborating, is that the Indian government directly blocked any sort of material, right? Whether it's in YouTube or other sources in Facebook. And as we know that India is a digital dictatorship of sorts, they've removed any sort of proof of the Bangladeshi Revolution, any sort of articles, or they've been removed to a large degree videos. So I believe that just goes to show how India is fearful of actually, they're fearful of the fact that people in the northeastern parts of India, now, especially what's been going on in Assam and Tripura and Manipur, and these places, we call it the Seven Sisters of India. Now, in these places, in this region, there's a good portion of the Christian population, and especially in the arounds of Mizoram and those places, there is a clear demand for autonomy because they do not want to be abused by the Indian states. For example, Nagaland, there have been cases where the Indian defense officials, and it was state-sponsored killings of Nagas, right, within in India. There have been killings of Christians. I believe that if you go through news sources, and not from only the Gaudiya media, so-called, right? So if you don't go through that, you'll find that in other sources that Christians have been killed in the last 1 year. Many Christians have been killed over there. So Manipur also wants its own independence. And this has been going on for the last 70, 80 years. That India has been depriving not only Sikhs of their rightful rights, their rights that were promised to by Nehru. And this is something that all people we represent over here, I believe that we need to be on the same page regarding this. It's not only about Modi and Congress. The Indian state policy is the subjugation of any minorities of most ethnicities that are not part of the Hindu religion. So now, ever since 1948, just like the case of the Sikhs, they have been abusing people from Manipur as well. They have not been able to actually even protest their own rights. There have been cases in Assam where Indian Army, it was basically the state-sponsored rape of the woman. Can you imagine? This is what they did in Assam. I believe it was around. There were cases in 2007, 2008, and 2012 as well.
Actually, as you speak, I just want, because you're not able to see, I have on my screen up image of Northeast woman. It's a devastating picture. They are totally naked, and they have a poster which says "Indian Army rape us." There are these, hundreds of women who had to turn up naked because they were so frustrated about, the way the Indian Army has been deployed in that area to repress them, to rape them all the time, to loot their resources. They actually did this outside a military camp in the capital, Imphal. This is a picture from 2004. Sorry, Smile, I interrupted you. I had to show people this iconic picture. Please go ahead.
I appreciate you, helping, because it's something that is important to show to not only people who are vouching for a free Khalistan or Kashmir, but also people to get an idea, the people of the world to know what India has been doing to its own people. And yes, this has been a recorded case. There have been, it was recorded that there were some officers, there were colonels and majors that took part in this state-sponsored rape of its own citizens, so-called own citizens. They do not actually own them. So this has been happening in Assam as well. And the picture that you showed, even after that, there were cases where Assamese women, they were actually raped and their bodies were found in rivers. I can put in links over here. And then the men, they were killed, and they were actually their skulls and other things that were found in the rivers itself in Assam. So these 7 sisters, they all want to be independent. In Arunachal Pradesh, itself is something that China claims for itself, and I believe that that is most likely the legitimate cause, because as you have said, that before 1948, this was part of the Chinese map. And to go on, to add in further to the implications for the rest of the seven sisters of India, so to speak, is that the fact that Bangladesh has actually incurred a very heavy defeat to India. India incurred a very heavy defeat to Bangladesh. Bangladesh actually flattened India in 2001 when India tried to invade in Sylhet and some other parts. And India lost 400 of its soldiers. So Bangladeshis, we know how to fight these people and to answer them in their own coin, in their own way, because they invaded in 2001. And if you look up, there was a 2001 Bangladesh-India war. You can find in articles. And over there, they invaded. Now, for the defense procurements, we have signed a defense treaty, I believe an agreement for Italy with Eurofighters. So all of this happening, Bangladesh charting its own course, I believe that it is definitely giving an impetus to the seven eastern states. And they will be independent because they've seen that Bangladesh as a nation, we have risen up against the so-called hegemon India. So I believe that they will rise up soon and they will fight for their rights and sovereignty, as is the right for any peoples and ethnicity and religion. So there's are my 2 cents. Thank you.
Yeah, and there was a very famous, not I would call it famous and infamous. Like very recently, people don't know, world needs to know. There was this, genocide of Christian minority in Manipur by the Indian state. Indian state backed the Hindu majority there and conducted a genocide of the Christian women, children. The women were made to go naked. They were, paraded naked in the middle of the villages and gang raped by thousands of, Hindu men or Hindu terrorists, totally backed by the Indian state. And this is not an aberration. This is a general rule, a practice that the Indian state has been indulging in against minorities since its inception. We saw this in 1984 when thousands of Sikh women were taken out of their homes in the national capital of India, in Delhi, and were gang raped, paraded naked. This is very. You don't see this kind of behavior anywhere, not even in the animals, but in the Indian society and the Indian state. This genocidal impulse, this violence against women, this, dishonoring them for the mere crime of speaking up. Here, this, I think, I don't know whether this video has that picture of that. I'm just going to play this. This is a BBC clip of, that image where that woman was, I think that particular woman which was paraded naked by thousands of men and then gang raped in front of her husband.
Her 21-year-old daughter was gang raped, assaulted, paraded naked by a mob. And when her husband and son tried to save her, they were bludgeoned to death. Her daughter and another Kuki woman were made to strip at gunpoint by dozens of Maintain men. Fame also lost her 21-year-old son to this ethnic conflict.
Katapapaki na nungahin haksat na katuk sama mayang katuk na sama mayang kataksahin le atola kalung timin le atola taksa thagawahin le kaniyam kieka kahing le kahing la tun le nga kalung le ngai le ka ngai mama jenga mo katapapaki aman le aki hei to he nu ei ti.
These are not the only victims. Violent clashes between the Kuki and the Meitei community in Manipur have been ongoing since May. The Indian state borders Myanmar.
Yeah, so these are the type of acts of the Indian state. They'll back one group against the other, the group that they don't like. They'll kind of make them fight, each one minority or one majority fight other minority. It's been going on for too long. Horrible images, horrible images. What came, and the world basically slept through it. I think it's high time, America and all the Christian organizations here, I don't know what they are doing. They need to wake up to what India is doing to the Christian minority. We saw this in Christmas that just passed, wherein Hindu terrorists brazenly, in big, large cities of India would go and, destroy Christmas celebrations where kids are there, women are there. They'll just enter that place, and force them to chant Hindu religious slogans. And the real thing is that when the Hindu terrorists do this in India, the so-called diaspora Hindu organizations, like there is this Hindu American Foundation, there is this, its leader Suhag Shukla. They are actually very closely associated with the Indian state and these terrorist organizations which do these acts in India, and they provide the cover fire to them in US. They provide that soft power. They'll basically lobby, they'll pump in money to the American politicians, and that is why we don't hear any voice against these atrocities, because all this is being controlled through the money that is in tech and finance industry, which these Indian diaspora people come and they basically monopolize and steal. And so it's kind of it's very, very sinister strategy, honestly. With that, I know Rosalind has been waiting for a long period of time. Rosalind, thanks for your patience. Please go ahead and ask your question or add anything.
Assalamu alaikum and hello. Thank you, Harjeet, for this space. I think it is very important to connect between different people who are facing the same problem. I would like to add a few things which my brothers here forgot. First of all, I would like to start with the defense Bangladesh has against India. It's just that Bangladesh is lucky. Do you want to say something? You were about to say something, Harjeet.
No, go ahead, please. Rosalind.
Yeah, so the one of the biggest point right now Bangladesh is enjoying is the timing of the revolt against India, because India is not America's favorite right now. So this is working in favor of Bangladesh, and India, whatever it does, whatever it did to its minority, is still doing. It gets away because India was hired or kind of a lapdog of America to manage China, and why Trump is angry right now because he did not deliver. I mean, India did not deliver, right? So China went in like far away ahead of them, and India could not do anything. They took money on this just for this. They did a lot of things, like they were charging America in different ways, right? But when you don't do, when you don't deliver, then you face the brunt. And in addition to this, I would like to add the brothers. They said that there was a railway link from India from one side to the other side, connecting the Seven Sisters. In that, there was a contract done by Hasina that whatever India carries in this train, Bangladesh government had no right to question what was inside that, what activity was going on inside that. So through Bangladesh, they were taking like maybe all terrorists, we don't know. So this was the contract. This is a level of subdued. Hasina had subdued Bangladesh to India. And I think one more thing, like India, what it does is like they keep watch on all the institutions of Bangladesh, and wherever they see any intelligent person coming up, even in childhood, they keep abducting even Bangladeshi children who they think they are having a high IQ. there's one more thing, and Bangladesh has a long fight with India, because right now the army chief itself is Hasina's relative, who is still in power. So, and there are so many other officers who run Bangladesh, still they are in power, and they all are pro-India. So it's not an easy fight. It's a long way. More lives we'll be seeing more lives lost. And like recently there was they had burnt a government office. I forgot the name. Like there was a lot of documents which Hasina had done, and they burnt it. Then they tried to burn garments in just factories, some important places, because they wanted to discourage the Western investment in Bangladesh. So there are a lot of other such things happening. So I mean, I just want to add this much.
Rosalind, you have touched upon, my sister, so many important topics, but I want to pick up on, the one that is so sinister, this killing of identifying and killing youth who can question any Indian state, like illegal actions, killing them before they even become big, like identifying them. Indian state is a par excellence in that. We have seen them do that with the Sikhs for last 80 years, and what you are seeing today, you are noticing, but probably it has been happening for quite some time with Bangladesh, with Osman Hadi's killing. They'll identify, okay, this is the young boy, and then they will basically, before he can even blossom or she can blossom, they're going to go ahead and kill them. And they'll first try to co-opt them, but if that doesn't work, then murder them. Like there's another example, like we had a singer, just a singer. His name was Sidhu Moosewala. He was murdered by the Indian state purely for his crime was that his music was becoming popular in the Pakistani Punjab, and that was bringing the people, the Sikhs and the Pakistani youth closer. And that was a big no-no for India. You can't allow that to happen. You have to keep a border of hate, and distrust. So they literally go ahead and murdered that guy in broad daylight. We had another young guy called Preet Sani, who was just doing YouTube videos. And first they called him to his office in NIA in Delhi. They told him that, hey, you cannot make any YouTube video without getting it approved from us. Especially if you are commenting on Sikhi, your own religion, you have to get the script approved from us. When he refused, they basically just poisoned him. Nobody even came to know. God knows how many Sikh youth are currently in Indian jails, how many they have murdered, but they have been getting away with it. And to your other point, Rosalind, that today the West is standing with the freedom struggles here because India has become a threat to them as well. Okay, so we should always realize that also the West have also been legitimizing India. I have nothing against West; they have given us refuge, but they should also own up to the crime of legitimizing the Indian state for so long, and hopefully now that mistake will not be recommitted. And with that said, Ismail, I want to kind of, or anybody else, I want to play this, and maybe we are at the fag end of our discussion. I want to play two videos here to kind of understand what's going on here. We, in between the struggle, we saw a beautiful thing come up. Okay, we saw Six for Justice leader Gurpatwant Singh Pannu tweeting a lot about Bangladesh. Then we saw, and I'm just play this video. Let's see. Okay. Okay, what you're hearing is a Dhaka University. Okay, this is a video, 26 December outside Dhaka in Bangladesh. This is amazing. Just hear out what the students are saying. Oh, so this is Dhaka University students, taking a Nara of Khalistan. And then in UK, we had, some Bangladeshi, I think, students were out protesting outside Indian High Commission. Then these Indian Hindu terrorists came out to disrupt them. And then we saw the Khalistani activists, the Sikh activists, turning up in support of the Bangladeshi students. And there is an interview of Pai Paramjit Singh Pamma, I think he's from the referendum. Let me play it out.
ਜੀ ਬੰਗਲਾਦੇਸ਼ ਦੀ ਐਮਬੈਸੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਅੱਜ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਬੰਗਲਾਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੋਲੀਡੈਰਿਟੀ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਦੱਸਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਨੇ ਬੰਗਲਾਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਲੀਡਰ ਉਸਮਾਨ ਹਾਦੀ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੱਜਰ ਦਾ ਕਤਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਈ ਪਰਮਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦਾ ਕਤਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਯੂਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਖੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਕਤਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਅਥਾਰਟੀ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਰਜ਼ੀਮ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਟੈਰਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਫੈਲਾ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਅੱਜ ਬੰਗਲਾਦੇਸ਼ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਏ ਆ ਕਿ ਟੈਰਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਰ ਵਿਕਟਿਮਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਆ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਆ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਟੈਰਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਕਟਿਮਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਤੇ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਆ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ
Okay, and then there is this there's this unique video of, I think, wherein Sardar Gurpatwant Singh Pannu also talks about Trump land, which I find it very interesting actually. But he had a lot of videos he made supporting the Bangladeshi cause. I tweeted, I saw a lot of other tweets as well. How do you see this sudden? How do my Bangladeshi brothers see this? So what did you guys felt about this moment? Then I'll also share my views. How I felt about this. Reciprocity.
I think, we have known about the Sikh atrocities for a long time, since the 1984 issue. However, because of the last couple of decades, there were fear to even speak out against it because that was an absolute red line from India. And we also knew in Bangladesh that you cannot talk about Khalistan, you cannot talk about Sikh rights. It's a red line. But I am glad that finally we have that freedom. And since, historically, this is what Bengalis or Bangladeshis are known for. We are known as the rebel nation. I hope that we become Rebellion Inc. or Revolution Inc., right? We become a safe space for all of those who are oppressed, who are looking for freedom. May it be our Sikh brothers, may it be someone from Northeast, may it be someone from South India, may it be Pakistan, may it be Nepal, Sri Lanka. I would like us to establish that sovereignty so that we can become that alternative to India, right? Nothing would make me happier than to become an anti-Indian nation in ethics, in values. And as you can see in the revolution and in the demands for the revolution, we keep talking about insaf. Insaf means rights for all. Insaf means justice for all. So that revolutionary spirit, I hope it stays, and I am very hopeful because this young generation, they truly believe in it. And having suffered for it, for their values, these values will stay with them forever. We had a generation that led us to freedom. We have another generation that's going to lead us to true freedom. And I hope and pray that we can inspire many, many more people to find freedom, right? There is nothing worse than living in servitude. When you lack your basic rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. These are our God-given rights. Every human being on this planet is born with them. To be denied of these basic rights is an injustice against humanity. So our hearts and minds have been won by our Sikh brothers, by the Khalistan movement, and I hope we are able to return that favor and host them and give them a safe space in our community, in our country. Thank you.
Great words, Asfar. I'll go to all the Bangladeshi speakers for their final words, and then I'll wrap it up. Ismail, you want to, sum up things from your side?
Right. So to sum up things, I believe that the revolution that Bangladeshis, it was not only a student-led revolution; it was a mass revolution from different sectors. There were ordinary rickshaw pullers who actually helped the dead bodies of students to be moved to the hospitals. There were Bangladeshi doctors who, at the threat of their life, they went to hospitals and treated the injured. And there are 30 to 40,000 people who are still injured, who have lost a limb, or maybe they lost a portion of their sight and everything. Some have lost the ability to hear. Some can't walk properly still. I believe what the Bangladeshi students, what they have shown, is going to be an inspiration, I hope, to all those who are fed up of this Indian oppression and tyranny. And they have not only stopped within South Asia, they have killed Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada. They have threatened one of the most brave journalists of Bangladesh in exile, who was in exile and is still living in America. His name is Ilyas Hussain. They have sent him death threats via the Indian Embassy and the Awami League and ISKCON, which is basically overhand of the Indian government extension. Apologies for the noise. So you see the train master. I'm close to a train track right now. He's even agreeing. He's giving his unison by making that noise. So I believe what Bangladeshis have done, it's actually something that is going to serve as it's going to act as a wake-up call to the world that India's transnational oppression and killings and murders, it's not going to go on and on and on and on still. It's something that Bangladeshis have shown that, we can rise up, we can be united, we can move up in the face of bullets and killings and all of this Indian tyranny and still prevail. So let us not lose hope. Let us stay united. I will be hosting a space on this Indian transnational agents and these people who try to create differences between Bangladeshis and other allied nations, and these Hindutva lobbies that represent India and that try to create problems between Bangladesh and its allies. So I will host a space on that. So my last words will be, Bangladesh has shown the way. I wish for a free Khalistan. I do wish for a free Kashmir. I do wish people from Tamil Nadu to understand the nature of this Hindutva state and Northeast India and all else, because India is not only a threat to South Asia, it's a threat to global humanity, and we're in this fight together. Bangladeshis are with the fight wherever you are in the map, in the globe, not only Khalistan, but the globe itself. So thank you.
Yeah. Any other Bangladeshi here who wants to say anything before I sum it up? Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. So, guys, this is so great. This is my learning has been in the last 2 months or 3 months from the time the revolution has come up in Bangladesh. Asfar said it right. Bangladesh is the land of revolutions. It has always been. And it is going to be that inspiration, I think, that spark which will ignite the spirit of liberty and freedom throughout the subcontinent. The Indian subcontinent was never decolonized. British left, they gave the power to the brown caste Hindu elite, who is 100 times worse than the British colonizers, because this caste Hindu elite does not even consider human beings as equal and is, way worse of a tyrant. It's not even neutral. And for last 80 years, peace, progress, prosperity has been denied to the people of the subcontinent because of the existence of this, colonial legacy terror state, which is now today has morphed itself into a Sanatani Hindu terror state, which is called India. And as long as that exists, people like the nations here, which is Bangladesh, are northeastern nations, the southern nations, Sikhs, Kashmiris, Pakistanis, even Afghanistan and Iran will not see their full potential, will not be able to achieve, the prosperity, the progress that we so very well deserve. We don't deserve to live in under the shadow of threat of nuclear annihilation. We don't deserve to live in such, where our youth have to constantly fight for basic rights like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, which is inherent to our cultures, but have been denied by the Indian state. The Indian state doesn't want they don't understand what is freedom of speech. They don't understand what is freedom of religion. They only understand one thing, which is unity and territorial integrity of India and its constant expansion. And for that, they have killed millions. They have kept us in poverty and imprisonment. But I don't think it's going to last long as the youth understand that we are in this fight together. All of us are in this fight together. Whether it's a Kashmiri, if Kashmiris, Sikhs, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Tamilians, we join hands and we isolate India, then this fight can be won way easily with way less bloodshed. Bangladesh revolution is not just the responsibility of Bangladeshi students. I think it is the responsibility of the youth of other nations as well, because we are going to be the beneficiaries if they succeed. And if they succeed, then only we succeed. So everybody has a stake in Bangladesh today. Everybody who wants, progress and peace in the subcontinent. And I wish the Bangladeshi students all the best. All my prayers are with them. I really urge my fellow Sikhs, who whichever part of the world you are in, if you are imprisoned in India, I know you cannot openly do too much, but you can always share a tweet. You can always share, come to listen to the Bangladeshi space. There are people who are openly tweeting about supporting Bangladesh, like me, like SFJ and many other Jathebandis. You can go and retweet their tweets, retweet their spaces. Today we had this joint space on Khalistan, Bangladesh. Spread this out, spread the word out. Let us get together, and you will see our getting together will actually re- will actually end almost literally just by our getting together. The Indian state, the state of hate, kind of loses one big battle at a time. So that's what my urge to everyone will be, to all my Pakistani brothers. The people who are in the states in responsible position, they will do what they have to do, and that will happen with the time that is coming. But we as citizens, we have to support and keep this positive movement forward. So with that request, I also want to thank again us for Ismail, Intellectual, everybody who came in, Coin, who also came in for some time. But let's build the momentum, keep this momentum going. And thank you very much. And with that, I say salam, goodbye to everyone, and Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa and Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Harjit Bhai.
Thank you.